My older sister's boyfriend confessed his feelings to me. We were alone in the kitchen washing dishes after dinner. My sister had stepped out to take a call, and her boyfriend of 2 years just said it, calm, like he'd been rehearsing it for weeks. I remember the exact moment. I had my hands in the water scrubbing a pan, and he was drying the plates my mom had just handed off to him. We weren't even really talking. There was music playing low from the living room. My dad was in there watching TV. Everything felt completely normal. And then he said my name, just my name. The way he said it made me stop scrubbing. He said he needed to tell me something. I thought something was wrong with my sister. I turned around thinking he was about to say she was sick or upset or that something had happened. Instead, he just looked at me and said it. He'd been feeling this way for a long time. He didn't know when it started. Maybe 6 months in, maybe earlier. He said every time my sister would go to bed early and he'd stay up talking with me about whatever, music, movies, random stuff that meant nothing, it started feeling like something. He said he tried to stop coming over as much. My sister thought he was pulling away from her. The truth was, he was trying to put distance between himself and me. I stood there with soap on my hands and didn't say anything. I was trying to process whether this was actually happening. He said he wasn't telling me because he wanted something from me. He just couldn't keep carrying it and pretending everything was fine. That sitting at our dinner table every Sunday watching me laugh at something my dad said was becoming impossible for him. He used that word, impossible. I finally found something to say. I told him to stop. He did. I told him he was with my sister, that she loved him, that she'd been with him for 2 years and talked about him constantly and had introduced him to every person in her life. I told him whatever he was feeling needed to stay exactly where it was, inside his head, unspoken, handled. I told him I didn't want to hear another word of it. He nodded, said he understood, said he was sorry. Then he just stood there, still holding the dish towel, not leaving. I turned back to the sink because I didn't know what else to do with my body. The water had gone cold. I kept washing. I was trying to think clearly and I couldn't. All I kept thinking was that my sister was somewhere in this house and had no idea what had just happened 10 feet from where my dad was watching a game. I heard her coming back before I saw her. She came through the doorway still half laughing at whatever the call had been about. She looked at me first, then at him, then back at me. She stopped laughing. She asked if everything was okay. I said yes. He said yes. She looked between us one more time and walked to the fridge like she was giving herself a second to decide what to do with what she'd just walked into. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand there and perform normal after what he'd just told me. I've never been good at pretending and she's known me my entire life. She was going to figure it out anyway. And if she figured it out later, on her own, and found out I'd known and said nothing, I couldn't let that happen to her. I asked her if I could talk to her for a second. She looked at me and I watched her face shift. She already knew it wasn't nothing. We went to her old room down the hall. He stayed in the kitchen. I closed the door and she sat on the edge of the bed and looked at me and said, "Just tell me." So I did, word for word, as close as I could get. I didn't editorialize or add anything. I just said what happened. She listened to all of it without interrupting once. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment looking at the floor. I could hear the TV from the living room. I could hear my dad laugh at something. Then she stood up, walked past me, opened the door, and went back to the kitchen. I followed her. She walked straight to him, looked at him, and said, "Get out of my house." He tried to say her name. She said it again. He started some attempt at an explanation, and she cut him off. She said she wasn't doing this right now, that he needed to leave, and she'd call him when she was ready. He looked at me once. I looked away. He left. We listened to the front door close. My dad called out, asking if everything was all right. She said, yeah, everything was fine. Her voice didn't shake at all. Then she turned and looked at me. She wasn't crying. Her expression was hard to read. She said she already knew. Not suspected, not wondered. Knew. She'd seen it for months. The way he'd linger when she left the room. The way conversations between him and me ran a little too easy. She said she kept watching and waiting for it to go back to normal. Kept telling herself she was being paranoid, that she was looking for problems in something good. She said the worst part wasn't what he did. She looked at me and said the worst part was that she almost didn't come back inside.